Jai Baba, thank you so much, man. Baba had said that he will teach us to move in the world, yet at all times be in inward communion with him as infinite being. He said he will teach us, show us how to move in the world, yet at all times be in inward communion with him as infinite being. Now, this whole quote kind of is a stream, a thread throughout my life in terms of Meher Baba. You heard earlier my mother talking about my taking the bar exam under difficult situations, conditions. She didn't tell what those circumstances were. I was married at the time, and just 9 days before I was going to take the bar exam, my wife left me. And I was saving that last 9 days to study. And that totally destroyed my life. And I didn't want to have anything to do with the world anymore. Yet, due to my parents' influence, I did take the bar. And I resolved at that time to understand the cause of suffering. Intellectually, I could explain to my former wife why she should be with me, but she wasn't. And I wanted to understand the cause of suffering. And I came to Baba later on, and in coming to Baba, we were planning to be with the Mandali, and maybe I could see Baba's body before it was covered up. I didn't know. I immediately wanted to go to India. And I remember there was this phone call. We were all gathered in Phyllis's house, and Rick Chapman and Alan Cohen at the time were the sort of elder brothers in Baba. Rick had met Baba, and Alan had been with Baba for a number of years. And I spoke to them on the phone, and I said, I want to go to India, and they discouraged me. They said, the Mandali, it wouldn't be appropriate. I said to Phyllis, I want to go right now. I had my passport, I could get a ticket, I was all prepared for the darshan, and I wanted to go immediately now. And Phyllis Frederick said that you shouldn't go to India now, you should go in the darshan. It would be inappropriate, the Mandali are experiencing their suffering of Baba's dropping the body, and leave them alone, let them have their own grief for Baba. And the same message came from Rick and Alan. And so what was I going to do? I was brand new to Baba, and I just listened to my elder brothers and sisters in Baba. About a week later, I heard that Rick and Alan went to India. And this stunned me. I couldn't understand what happened. Later on, I found out that after the conversation with me, I think Don Stevens called Alan Cohen and said, because Eruch had sent a message, because Alan had wanted to see Baba, and Eruch had sent a message through Don for them to come, and they went, and they were obviously too busy to check with Jack Small, brand new in Baba, to say, by the way, we're going, you want to come, right? And then, after Baba's internment, Don Stevens sent a cassette tape to Phyllis describing what it was like, because he went there also. And we had reserved 2 planes to go to the darshan in '69 in southern Northern California, and one of the planes was canceled because people thought Baba dropped the body, why go to the darshan? So she had me take this cassette tape to all the people who had, changed their mind, to show them, yes, Baba's still with us, the darshan is still going. So I took this tape, and in this tape, Don Stevens described how touched the Mandali were when anybody from the West came, how much it meant to them, how, it was affirmation from Baba's Western family that they still loved him, even though Baba dropped the body, that they still remembered him. And this was about a 45-minute hour tape describing this. I played this dozens of times for different people. I went to Santa Barbara and different Baba lovers to hear this over and over again, how touched everybody was, the Mandali were to, that the Westerners went, the few that went. And each time I heard it, it was like a knife in my heart, because I wanted to do that. That's exactly what I wanted to do. And I learned a lesson. The lesson is, if you feel the call in your heart from Baba, don't let anybody dissuade you. And then, when I finally went to the darshan, many stories another time about that, we were in Pune, and we were seeing a movie of the internment of Meher Baba, and I saw in the film, of course, Alan and Rick, then I saw the Luck brothers. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know they were in India. And what happened when Baba dropped the body, they immediately went to India. Everybody dissuaded them from going. Fred Ella dissuaded them. Different Bible lovers said, don't go now, wait till the darshan time. They ignored everybody. They spent 3 months there in Ahmednagar with all this intimate time with the Manli. And so, because I had missed meeting Baba, because I had missed the opportunity to go there, I made a resolve to spend as much time in India as possible. And I wasn't going to let anything get in the way. And so I made 4 trips to India for 2.5 months each time. And I resolved, if I couldn't meet Baba in the body, I was going to do the next best thing, which was move to India. Now, at the time, there wasn't a spiritual training program where you have 20 or 30 Westerners there. There was just a couple of people. There was Jacko Karako and just a couple of other people there. So I went to India without an invitation for the Manli. I just showed up. You can't do that now because you have to have a visa in advance. But at the time you could. And I was prepared to live there or go back. And they accepted me, allowed me to stay. After a number of years living in India, I've been there 17 years. After, the excitement, the enthusiasm of, having been there, this has been my lifelong dream with Baba to move to India, suddenly I wondered, what now? I mean, what can I do externally? I've done everything I could up to that time. Then, gradually, I became aware that I really didn't have to move to India. I'd gone through a lot of effort, a lot of struggle. I gave up my law practice, moved everything to India, and I didn't have to go there. I only had to go from here to here. That's all I had to do was go into my own heart. I didn't have to go to India. I remember one time being on Mira's veranda, and she was telling a story. And as she was telling the story, she started to cry. And in the early days, Mira would weep a lot. And she said that one thing she regretted in her life, I was stunned. I couldn't believe Mira regretted anything. And she regretted that she didn't spend enough time with Meher Baba. I asked Bauji about this, and he said that no matter how much time he spent with Baba, it was not enough. Because he was still there. And he said, the closer you are to Baba, the more you want to be with Baba. And again, like last night, I want to remind everybody that you should not miss the opportunity with Bauji coming to Bao's talk in Mariposa. He may not come again. And we take Bao's frequent visits for granted. Well, Bao comes every now and then. But you don't know what the future holds. You should not miss this opportunity to have intimate sahavas, company with somebody so dedicated who live with Meher Baba. You will get, when you visit Bauji in Mariposa, Bao's talk, you will experience the conviction, the love that he has from Baba. It comes through his very breath. But this is something, as we talked about last night, that's available to each one of us. Each one of us can have this experience of his love. It's offered to everyone. I asked Bauji once, why is it that sometimes I feel his love and sometimes I don't? And he said that perhaps the cup of your heart may be filled with his love. But what happens is the desire, the longing increases, the cup gets larger, and so the same amount of love may not satisfy you, and you want more, and it seems you're not feeling his presence, you're not feeling his love. Only your capacities increase, so you have to go back more and more. So this is the importance of coming to the Sahavas here, the importance of going to Myrtle Beach, the importance of spending time with Bauji, going to India if possible, because this will help increase the cup of our hearts till we are no more. After I had been in India for a number of years, and I told some of the experiences last night, showing how much Baba loved me by grinding me down, things got to such a point in my life in India that I felt there was nowhere to turn, no place to go. So I remember one time seated in my office at the trust office, and my relationships, in my experience, had so soured with the Mandali, with the other residents. Now, let me just recapitulate what happened. I moved to India because I was feeling so much love and appreciation from the Mandali, and I left the world thinking I could get more of that. So gradually, over the years, that seemed to have dissipated. That was gone. And I remember sitting in my office, I felt there was nobody I could relate to. The Westerners, the visitors, or the residents could talk to the Mandali about the most trivial things. I couldn't talk to them about things that mattered in my heart. I remember seated there, very despondent. And I felt Baba say to me, and the way he communicates to me, maybe many of you others have this similar experience, he communicates to me through my own thoughts. I'll get a thought, and he'll clothe his communication to me in my thoughts. I'll get a thought, and I know the source of the thought isn't me, it's him. And so I remember Baba saying to me, "Who have you come for, them or me? I am always here for you. Who have you come for, them or me? I am always here." And I realized at that moment how distorted my relationship with Baba and the Mandali had become. I was depending upon them for Baba's love. I was waiting, hoping for any little sign of affection or appreciation instead of depending upon Baba. Eruch tells this beautiful story of in Mandali Hall one time, Baba had a small group of his lovers there, and there was some music being played, and there were some families there, and there was this woman that had a baby. And I may have heard this story 100 times before I finally got the point. And now I'm able to tell it. I couldn't tell it before. And the atmosphere was just surcharged with this love. And there was this one woman with her baby there, and the baby was restless, and the baby wanted to move around and play around, and the mother was embarrassed by the baby making movement, making noise. And Baba said, "Let the baby go. I too was a baby. I understand what it was like to want to move around, and you couldn't move around." And so the baby was very happy, and he played around, went to different person. And then, everybody got involved with the atmosphere. Baba would stop the music and interpret and translate the music, and you could just feel the atmosphere was surcharged with his love. And pretty soon, his mother forgot about the baby, and the baby was crawling towards the doorstep, the threshold, and was just about to crawl past the threshold and would have fallen. Baba clapped his hands and pointed to the mother, "Your child, get your child." Immediately the mother runs to get her baby, and the baby cries. The baby was thwarted, was stopped from doing what it wanted to do. And Baba said, "This is what I mean when I say my gaze, my nazir." Nazir, N-A-Z-A-R, means his gaze, his sight is on you all the time. I let you go your own way and have your own life, but if you're about to fall and hurt yourself, I'll rescue you, I'll grab you, and you think you're suffering, you're upset with me. Whereas it's really my grace, it's my love for you that's protecting you. And I understand that the suffering I experienced, not that people were out to get to me, but the suffering I experienced was because of my attachment, my need for that affection, externally with the Mandali. Whereas I've come for who? For Baba. I had to transform my external longing to come to India to an internal longing for him. And I realized that if I longed for nothing but his name, if I longed for nothing but Baba, I would experience his love. And it's all these other longings, all these other attachments get in the way. If I could just long for him, he'll give us love. If we have a burning desire for his love, for nothing else, He will give His love, His grace. One time, Baba was with a group of his lovers, and he said to them that you've all been with me before. Consequently, we've been with each other. This is why we're so familiar with each other. I feel closer to my Baba brothers and sisters than I do my own family, because we've been with each other for so many years. And I remember when I first came to Baba, he seemed so familiar. Don't we have that feeling that we knew him sometime, when, we don't know when? How we look at his smile and his clothes, and we can feel his touch, and we know we've been with him before. So, after being with the Mandali, serving Adi for so many years, being ground down by the Mandali and life there in India, I was ready, I thought, for the biggest opportunity. What could be more than living with a Mandali? What could be more than being ground down by everybody? I fell in love and got married. I thought that when I would marry Gwendolyn, that my life would be eternally happy. I could never understand how my friends, people I knew who loved Baba and loved each other, how they couldn't get along, why they had so many difficulties with each other. It bewildered me. Now I understand. I know what it's like. And that question that I had asked years ago of what was the cause of suffering, now I was about to experience it. Before, you see, with the Mandali, I could always, no matter how bad it went, no matter what happened, I could go home and hide. I couldn't hide from myself anymore. I had this experience once in Baba's tomb. It was like the light of his love was shining on me, and it was very painful. I had to face all my desires, all my false self. And it was just a very painful experience. Well, in marriage, I discovered that I cannot escape. I appreciate my wife so much. I appreciate Gwendolyn so much because she does not let me get away with anything. And the experience I had in India with the Mandali up to that time was like big chips off the sculpture of my ego. This is the fine-tuning. Being married. And all of you who have been married or are married, I understand, I appreciate what it's like. And I'm grateful to Baba for this opportunity to remember him more. So Gwendolyn and I have been married now for almost 2 years. And she has 2 children from a former marriage, and they're in Seattle. And when we got married, I said to Gwendolyn, I said, you can go anytime you want to see your children. I'll just be here in India waiting for you. Right? And so, for the first 2 years of our marriage, she was gone for 6 months. And I couldn't handle this anymore. I wanted to be with her. So, to be with her meant I had to come here. Well, the Sahavas was very generous, inviting me to bring me from Seattle to Los Angeles. But the issue was how to get to Seattle. I had been to America 3 times since 1975. Twice with Adi, in which the Baba lovers paid for Adi and my expenses, and then once Mayor Prasad brought me for some Baba work. But to come here on my own was a whole different experience. I had not worked as a lawyer. I'm a member of the California Bar for 17 years. So I was preparing my resume because the Baba lovers weren't going to pay for me to join my wife in Seattle. And so I had to deal with all kinds of issues I had not faced. I was a member of the California Bar. I hadn't practiced for 17 years, and I was going to be basically in the state of Washington. So the opportunities to get a job were pretty difficult under those circumstances. And so I was dealing with all kinds of fear and sense of my self-worth, of being able to do this. Can I do this? You know, I was thinking, why do I have to do this? simultaneously, in terms of could I do it, and I realized I was like, one of the reasons I wanted to move to India was just not longing for Meher Baba. I just didn't want to deal with the world anymore. I didn't want to deal with the job. I didn't want to deal with the traffic. I didn't want to deal with the responsibilities of just living in the West. I thought I was going to India just for God, just for Baba. I was going to India because I didn't want to face the difficulties of life. I was escaping. Simultaneously, what I realized what was happening was I started to, John Connor was preparing to go with Bauji to the West at the same time. In fact, we took the same train from Ahmednagar to Bombay together. And I was thinking, why do I have to do this? And I realized that over the years of living in India, I had developed sort of an arrogance, an elitism of, I'm giving myself to Baba. I don't have to be in the world anymore. Why do I have to be here? Why do I have to go? So I was dealing with both these issues in my life. And the worst part was how to get a job. It's easy to deal with all these emotional issues. It isn't. But what do I do now? And the whole thing had come to a head on, I've been talking to the Manli about this. I've been talking to Baba in his room, in the tomb, constantly thinking, how am I going to get a job? What am I going to do in the West? Why do I have to go there? All these things were coming up. Meanwhile, Gwendolyn was already in America. And yet I wanted to be with her. I thought about not going sometimes, but I just couldn't stand to be away from Gwendolyn anymore. And so the whole thing came to a head on February 12th, Duni. I gave the whole thing to Baba. So I didn't have to worry anymore. We sang that song already, I forgot. I didn't have to worry anymore. And so the next day, some friends come, Baba lovers from the East Coast, and I ask them, what they're doing, what's happening, and they tell me about their job and the work they're doing. And I immediately ask, is it something I can do? They say yes. And I'm very excited. I have a new career. It's not as a lawyer, but it's a new career, and I'm really excited about going to the West now. I tell Gwendolyn about it. I'm all set to go. Meantime, at the same time, I'm wondering, why do I have to go? Do I want to go? And I remember the last day Meherazad was open, I went to Baba's room in Meherazad, and I bowed down at his chair. I said, why do I have to do this? John's, about to go with Bauji. Why can't I be like John, like I used to be with Adi? Why do I have to go? Why do I have to work? It's all the wheels are set in motion in terms of my new career. And then suddenly I turn to Baba, and I feel him say to me, this is my work for you. This is my work for you. Not for all the Baba lovers, but for me, this is his work. And then when I felt that, I could be really enthusiastic. I could take the same enthusiasm I had for Baba's work, because prior to that time, to me, Baba's work was just going out, giving talks, putting up posters, that sort of thing, doing what I'm doing now. And as I've been here for almost 2 months, I really do feel and experience my new career, being in the world, is Baba's work for me. And I realize that everything, all of us being in the world, is Baba's work for us. Baba's work is not limited just to, doing programs, giving talks. Marriage is Baba's work. Our job is Baba's work. Everything is Baba's work if we're doing it for him. And people wonder why I could be so enthusiastic about my career. It's because I feel this is Baba's work for me. And it goes back to what Baba said. He said he would teach us to move in the world, yet at all times be in inward communion with him as infinite being. I left the world, spent 17 years in India, thought I was finished with the world. I have to learn to be in the world and feel his presence. It's not enough to feel his presence in the tomb or at gatherings of Sahavas. I'm not a balanced person. I'm still working on this. This is not done. I'm still learning to be able to be attentive, honest with my wife. I used to think, don't worry, be happy, meaning, oh, I'm happy all the time. I'm not feeling pain. I'm feeling good. And I'm learning, thanks to Gwendolyn, to express my feelings and be honest. And to realize, yeah, I have pain. It hurts. Elizabeth Patterson said that Baba does not resolve problems, he dissolves it. But it has to come up first. How can you know something? I asked Eruch about this. And he said that, yes, it's true. I gathered from him that Baba said that you have to become conscious of these issues. I was talking to him about therapy and various, now I've gotten into all these psychological New Age books through Gwendolyn. And he gave me this beautiful analogy. He said, what happens when somebody dies and they happen to fall into a lake? What happens to the body? And I said, well, it's dead, it stays there, but eventually what happens? He said, eventually, well, it grows bigger, I guess, it bloats, and it floats to the top. And he says, that's what happens to all the dead bodies of all the past experiences within us. Automatically, everything will rise, and all these therapies and all these things are useful to help bring the unconscious, the dead bodies up. And so before we can be really free internally, before we can really be dedicated and one-pointed with the Baba, we have to know what we have to give to them. How can we surrender what we don't know? We have to be conscious to surrender to Baba. And I realize now, or I've at least got a handle on the direction to go, the way to find happiness is not to depend upon the external world for happiness. As long as we're dependent upon anybody's opinion, whether they like us, care for us or not, we're going to be, our happiness is going to be dependent upon Him, those circumstances. It's only when our happiness is dependent upon Him in our hearts can we really be happy. Only when we find Baba in our hearts can we really be happy. Baba is the ocean of love. He's come to give us that ocean. All we have to do is open up our hearts, and He'll give that ocean. He wants to pour His love to us. He says, the ocean is yours to take. Take my love. Take as much as my love you want. Take my name. I love you. Take my name. I want to close with one more story of my life there. Some years ago, I sang a song in Mandalay Hall, and I heard one of the Mandalay comment to somebody else, Jack Small shouldn't sing here anymore. I'd been told that I was tone deaf and believed it. I loved to sing, but I couldn't hear the notes. I couldn't hear my own voice. I couldn't tell when I was in tune. Not that I have it down perfectly now. I'm still working. And so Debbie Nordine, one of the former residents there, came to move to India, and I started taking singing lessons from her. And I told this particular Mandalay in Mara's presence, I said, I'm taking singing lessons from Debbie Nordine. This is very important to me. I wanted to make sure that no comments were passed on that got to Debbie to discourage her from giving me lessons. And I said, how important this is to me to take singing lessons. I want you to know this, how happy I am about this. So nothing was said. So this last song I want to close with is this first song after I had been taking lessons from Debbie that I sang in Mandalay Hall. It was also the last program that was in Mandalay Hall before Mara passed away. And after I sang the song, I couldn't believe it. Mara started to stand and applaud. And all the Mandalay and everybody stood up and applauded. And my lifelong dream of wanting to sing and to be appreciated in my singing just came true at that moment. And I remember I was so touched, I couldn't handle it anymore. I had just to bow down before Baba's chair. So I'd like you to all join me in the song. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the fateful lightning of His terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, Meher Baba. Glory, glory, Meher Baba. must live to make men free, while God is marching on. Glory, glory, Meher Baba. Glory, glory, Meher Baba. Glory, glory, Meher Baba. His truth is marching on. Everybody now, lift your voice. Glory, glory, Meher Baba. Glory, glory, Meher Baba. Glory, glory, Meher Baba. His truth is marching on. One more time, everybody now. Glory, glory, Meher Baba. Glory, glory, Meher Baba. Glory, glory, Meher Baba. His truth is marching on. Meher Baba ki jai. Meher Baba ki jai. Meher Baba ki jai. One little footnote to this story that I heard is that during that summer, when Mira passed away, she started to get sicker. And Heather Nadell was with her, among a couple of other residents, trying to entertain Mira. And so one of the things they said to Mira, and she was having a little trouble communicating, she said, "You remember when Jack Small sang that song and they did a little march?" And Mira remembered, the little march that I did with Battle Hymn of the Republic. Okay, Jai Baba.